Welcome. My name is Deni and I have been a professional linguist for about 25 years and specializing in nonverbal communication. And when science tells us that verbal communication are actual words that we speak to each other, accounts for maybe 30% of communication. So, as somebody who specializes in nonverbal communication, the body speaks. I'm paid well to do this work. So, with the experience that I've come over the last 20 years in researching neurolinguistic programming, hypnosis, craniosacral therapy, I started on this journey of learning all this stuff about communication. So why? Well, first I want to show you the next slide, but I would welcome, come on in. But I would love for you, before you see the next slide, take a moment to check in and how your nervous system responds when you see the next slide. This is all about your nervous system and paying attention to how your nervous system is responding. So just become aware of how your nervous system is responding. So over the past 20 years, I've studied and researched NLP, Reiki, EFT. How many can relate? Shall I go on? Quantum physics, metaphysics, anything related to woo-woo? That would be me. But in this date, this is the date that's infused, imprinted in my nervous system. On this date, I got a call from the doctor and he said, I am sorry, Mrs. V, you have cancer. So boom, there it is. I'm 35 years old, at the top of my career, no less. But as things went on, I realized something within me was happening. And I went to go to the doctor. And he started telling me, okay, we're going to inject radioactive dye, and we're going to do this and that, and then you're going to have to, have chemotherapy and radiation, or perhaps chemotherapy with your radiation. We won't know until the biopsy comes. So as I'm listening to this, there was something inside that said, that's not for you. But I didn't know what was. So I said no to chemotherapy and radiation and was told I'd be dead in 2 years. So I would like for you to go on an epic journey with me. Oh, I have the moat right here. This is when I was 35 years old. My kids were 12 and 6. So here I'm being told, you have 2 years to live, and yet I said no to chemotherapy and radiation. I had no idea what I was going to do. But as a linguist, a professional linguist, I started to realize that communication happens so much more on a sub-level. There's this deep, deep level that so many of us are disconnected from. And when I was this age, 35, this was right after my diagnosis, we went to Arizona on a family trip. And at this age, I was at the top of my career. There's no place to go. I was at the top of my career. I was doing very well. I was nationally certified. I was doing stuff for, you wouldn't imagine the cases that I had the opportunity to work in. But with this epic journey, I became a practitioner. And this is my definition of practitioner. So if you can't see it, it says, practitioner, a perpetual seeker, while keeping the balance between the practice of healing and the non-stop search for tools that may produce results that were not possible before, seeking faster, simpler, longer lasting, less complicated, and free of side effects. How many practitioners are in this room? Yeah, I became the practitioner. And the amazing thing is, I've had an amazing journey since that date in 2001. And that date was probably just before, months before, our whole world changed, right? So my world was changing and the world was changing. So it was a very stressful time in that year. But I would like for you to go on an epic journey with me. And before my nervous system, I began to really connect with it. And learning craniosacral therapy and really connecting with the nervous system, I discovered and really became a neural communicator. So not only communicating with a person who can't hear, can't speak, but can tell me basic signs, and using the body and feeling the tension and feeling the relaxation as this person is telling me their story, I'm realizing there is so much communication here. I began to understand that my nervous system can communicate with me. Excellent. I was at the top of my career, and it was quite the journey of discovering this process of communicating with the nervous system. And I want to share with you, first of all, your awareness. We're going to be getting into the three parts of this: awareness, the unconscious, the subconscious. So I'll be talking about those quite a bit. And I know some of us have ideas of what that is, but we're going to lay a framework so that we can all agree, yes, the consciousness, that's part of me. Yes, the unconsciousness, this is part of me. The subconscious, what the heck is that? That's part of all of us. This is part of all of us. And this is how we all communicate through this process that you can't hear, you can't see, you can't smell, you can't taste, you can't touch. And yet there's this magnificent intelligence that we can communicate with. But I didn't know how. So I'm on a journey to slay the cancer dragon. Here you are being told I'm becoming the practitioner. One of the first things I learned was Reiki, connecting with this energy. And I had to heal myself first. I had to work on myself first, which means I really had to say no to a lot of things that were going on. And when you're in a position of having this thing in your body that should be there, has to be warred with, has to be cut out, has to be chemoed, has to be radiated, you set up a literal war with your body. I didn't like my body. I hated my body. I did. And I had to come to a point where this dragon cancer, this cancer dragon, I had to love her. She had information for me. She had knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. But yet, if I were to set myself up as the slayer, I needed to do something. And this is the something I did. I'm a huge fan of Carl Jung, always have been. And one of the things he said didn't make a lot of sense to me until I came face to face with my cancer dragon. Carl Jung said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Was it fate that I got cancer? Or maybe it was miscommunication or no communication at all, because I was in the corporate world, you know, working with a lot of people, only had one thing on my mind. I was a walking head. I had absolutely no awareness of what was going on below the neck, right? So I was in my head a lot. And one of the first things I need to do is, first of all, what is the unconscious? And I realized, and I actually felt why I got cancer. I was suppressing all the trauma, all of the things I didn't want to look at, all of the anger, all of the frustration. And you know, with energy workers and practitioners here, you know what that's like when you're suppressing. It's like holding a beach ball underwater. That takes an awful lot of energy, and it was killing me. Literally, it was killing me. So deciding to move forward, all right, Carl, how? How do I make the unconscious conscious? So this epic lesson I had to learn, and I had to deal with my own issues first. And with this image here, as you can see, I like to think that we're very visual people. So just take in the visualizations as you see. And I wasn't seeing what was. I wasn't really feeling anything. And if I did feel something, it was a bad thing. It had to be submerged right away. So noticing that my hormones, my brain, what was going on in the brain, all of these things pointed to a center. And this center I call my healing team. And we're going to set up your healing team today so that you can definitely begin to use this. But I didn't know what was still for me. I didn't know how I was going to cure this cancer. And anybody I told I have cancer, the first response, I could feel their nervous system shriek back, almost like I was contagious. Oh, I'm so sorry. But I could feel that they were sorry and glad that they weren't the one to get cancer. And then they would tell me, people would tell me, oh, you got to try this cure. You got to try this mushroom. You got to go on this trip with ayahuasca. You got to go to colonics 5 days a week. So they were telling me all this stuff for cures for cancer. So I realized during my healing process, this had to stay within, because the moment I brought it without, it muddied up my nervous system. How many can relate to that? Yeah. So now, as somebody who's been on this side, when somebody expresses, I have cancer, really? What choices did you have and what choices did you choose? That kind of throws them off. They're expecting, oh, I'm so sorry, right? So I ask different questions. And what did we learn last night about questions? Oh my gosh, ask the questions. Excellent. So during my practitioner study, I studied with Upledger Institute. I highly recommend it. And Dr. Upledger, he died recently, but he's a legend. His belief, he says, my belief is that somewhere inside of you is the answer to every question that can be asked about you. My concern is that we make a connection with that part of you that knows the answers. Wait a second, there's a part of me that knows the answers? What? And that those answers can be shared with us and used for the good of the total you. I wasn't total. I was puzzle pieces missing all over the place. I wasn't total. I had to get whole, but I didn't know how. So here I am, slaying the cancer dragon. Yes, exactly. So my belief is I gained a ton of knowledge. Had all this knowledge in my head about craniosacral and doing the work. And after 5 years of seeing the oncologist every 3 months for the first 2 years, then every 6 months, then once a year, after 5 years, it was hard to find an oncologist that was willing to work with me for not wanting to do chemo and radiation. Yeah, so I found a doctor who was willing to just remove the tumor, and then he gave me a list of doctors who he thought might work with me. And I found a woman, an Indian doctor, and she made some recommendations, but she said, honey, you got to have a plan. What is your plan? I don't know. I had to start with myself. But Somewhere inside of you is the answer. It's there. But how? How do we make the unconscious conscious? I'm still trying to figure this out at this time while I'm slaying the dragon and fighting it. I had the energy of wanting to fight this dragon until I learned about the nervous system and how the nervous system responds. So in the beginning, I found myself with 3 choices. There were just 3 choices that I could see from my reality. And this is what I was being shown as well. I could escape, hide my head in the sand, pretend nothing's wrong, everything's fine, everything's going great, nothing's wrong, keep looking. Or I could succumb and ignore the little message that I heard. That's not for you, but succumb to it anyway. I could have done that and just, all right, I'm going to go for it. The other thing I could have done is fix the dragon head on, changing what is. Even though I'm looking at what is, I'm going to change what is. And that's kind of like I've learned looking in the mirror and you don't like what you see, and you're trying to change what you don't like in the mirror. It's kind of insane, isn't it? That's where I was. I was trying to change this, but not this. And this was the wake-up call I had. But what if? What if there's a 4th option? I started combining therapies. I've worked on hundreds of people with craniosacral therapy, and speaking to that inner physician that Dr. Upledger talked about, that there is the answers that can be communicated within you. And as I'm working on someone's craniosacral, if you don't know what the craniosacral system is, it's from head to tailbone, the spine, the spinal column, the synovial fluid within the spinal column, and then the movement of that. This whole system has its own rhythm, separate from our heartbeat, separate from any other rhythms in the body. This system is a powerful system. And in working on people who have experienced domestic violence, sexual abuse, and mostly working with women, I realized my nervous system was communicating with theirs. I could sense things within their body, and the more I listened, the more I realized there's always another option, especially when you hear a little voice inside that says, that's not for you. This is the 4th option that I discovered. It's called integration, right? So the first thing we want to do is suppress. However, we are polyphasic beings. We are this is a beautiful image of polyphasic beings, meaning that we have access to many, many states of being and many dimensions at the same time. So I learned to navigate these states of being, and I realized I love states. I became master hypnotist and master NLP over 21 years. It took me 21 years to get to that point. But really understanding hypnosis. No, it's not just, you are getting sleepy. If hypnosis is done right, the nervous system will communicate. If neuro-linguistic programming is done right and you really listen to the words that is coming from the nervous system, it will tell you secrets. It will tell you everything. And over the years, especially with craniosacral therapy, I've learned to really, really listen to that within the nervous system. So I've learned that we have states of mind, and we're able to shift between these states. We may know these states as beta, alpha, theta, delta. And I know there's more states that have yet to be discovered. They're talking about coherence being a state. So a new state of being. And coherence is when two vibrations come together and create a third. That's coherence. So when our heart and mind come together, it creates a third frequency. I loved coherence. It was addicting. However, I also learned to navigate these deep states of bliss. And I tell you, we have to get into the habit of looking forward to deep states of bliss. That alpha state is so wonderful. However, if you want to be more childlike, get into the theta state. The theta state is dreamlike, intuition, and you can enter this state while you're working. Get your creativity and imagination going. Imagine so many of us are focused on things or not focused, and we miss out on these states. So with these states of prayer and expressing gratitude in the delta state, this delta state, getting into this state when you use your affirmations. Because if you're in another state and you try and use affirmations, the mind is going to go, that'll never happen. Who do you think you are? What dream planet are you on? So the mind begins to come in. So get yourself into a state of delta, and then do your affirmations. This is a more powerful state to be in. And then I learned about getting into more states. And of course, I wanted to experience these states myself. So I learned that there are several ways to access altered states. The number one way has been around for thousands of years: plant medicines. We may have heard of mushrooms, those kind of things when working with a shaman as opposed to, let's do some mushrooms, you have a purpose. It's medicine as opposed to sugar, getting a hit, right? So this is medicine as we begin to make these shifts within our consciousness. So these plant medicines are powerful in removing this block I had from the neck down, being completely disconnected from my own nervous system. The other thing is breath work, and I know we all have done breath work, but one of the things that I noticed for this body, which I call my meat suit now, I was breathing too much. Have you ever heard of an air diet? I had to go on an air diet. I was constantly taking in so much air, like in a state of anxiety and panic. It was putting my nervous system in. I didn't know it. I had no idea. But once I understood that I needed to increase certain CO2 and allow the body to relax, the body needs at least 10% CO2 in the body. This creates the nervous system to relax. So the more air we take in, we lower that CO2 in the body, and it creates anxiety. I felt it right away. My breathing changed in an instant. So breath work is a very powerful way to create these accesses, these doors to these altered states. Obviously, we know this one, meditation, but a lot of meditations out there don't take us deep enough. And this book, Altered Traits, it mentions a fourth way, but I Googled it and I tried to look it up. I really couldn't find it. He says in the book that 5 days is like $15,000. And it's like, I've never experienced that, but if I could, I definitely would. But the plant medicine, the breath work, the meditation, I am all supportive of in allowing yourself to experience these altered states. Excellent. So at the same time, the interstitial system was declared an organ around 2018. So the interstitial system is another system with its own rhythms within the body. This system is the medium between electrical impulses and physical movement. Without the interstitial system, we can think move your arm, but the arm won't move. We need this system to communicate between electricity and mass. So I discovered this guy. Dr. Gary Flint's books fell into my lap. And these books I highly recommend, 5 stars. The work of Dr. Gary Flint's research at the time of publishing this book, he was a clinical psychologist and he worked on over 80,000 people with his technique. And Theory and Treatment of Your Personality, a Manual for Change, just reading the book sets up the process for dehypnosis, and it reprograms the brain as an organ. So not just the chunk of meat that's in your head, but the brain as an organ. The whole nervous system. And very powerful, just reading it, it reprograms your brain while at the same time it teaches the nervous system how to do the integration work. And we're doing integration as opposed to suppression. Because as I learned, and I'm sure all of you know as well, suppressing it doesn't work. I tried. Really, I tried. Nope, I don't want to look at that. Okay, if it's coming up in my experience, it means it's time to integrate it. And with healing your mind, pardon me, with healing your mind, he discovered that using metaphors as a powerful tool to communicate with the subconscious. So what I'd like to do is an exercise. I would like for you to connect with your conscious awareness. This is the first part of your healing team. There's 3 parts, but this part, our conscious awareness, you consciously know you're in this room. You consciously feel what's going on. So take a moment, if you can, close your eyes, and we're going to do an awareness training exercise. I'd like for you to imagine your place of dwelling. Imagine as you walk in the front door, you know where everything's at. The doors, the windows, the furniture, the room. Take a moment to really get to become aware of your home, where you live. You can maybe even see the outside of your home. You may be able to see up and down the streets. And maybe if you zoom out a little bit, you can maybe even see or sense, not everybody sees, you can sense your neighborhood, the streets, the other houses, restaurants, stores. Is there anybody who can't see consciously? Awesome. Everybody can. Very good. So now what I'd like you to do is zoom out a little bit, make your home and town a little bit smaller, and see if you can sense the city you live in. Maybe even the state or country you live in. Can you zoom out any more? Can you be on the moon looking down at the earth? Yeah. This is your awareness. And at the same time, you're in a completely different dimension. You're right here in this dimension. Yeah. This is conscious awareness. Your consciousness, your awareness is your most precious gift. And he discovered that when metaphors are used in communicating with the subconscious, that you can train the subconscious how to do the integration work. And what I learned is We cannot do the healing work from the mind conscious level. We cannot do the healing work from the unconscious level. We can do the healing work from the subconscious level. But how? I mean, metaphors we know we're multidimensional beings. This metaphor, if I were to remove this match, the flame will stop, right? So this is a metaphor. The subconscious and the nervous system communicates through metaphor. So these tools that we use for communication, like a memory of a word associated with an object or actions, become a functional language. So this is what happens within the unconscious. So the unconscious, it is a powerful tool for communication with the subconscious, and they are effectively guiding the subconscious to make changes to memory. It makes changes to memory. You ever have a memory long time ago, maybe a trauma, and you remember it, and you can feel your nervous system triggered as if it's happening again? So he discovered that when we train the nervous system through allegory, this communication happens. For example, we can integrate negative emotions as opposed to suppressing them. Now we have another option. We have another option because we're all taught, sweep it under the rug. Don't talk about it anymore. Keep that secret in the closet. Don't open the closet. Whatever you do, don't open the closet. Now, instead of speaking it out, we go inside and integrate the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding that whatever's happening in the unconscious has. So metaphors as a powerful tool, and the conscious and unconscious constructs represent the active memories, and these are related to neural activity. And that's thought, feelings, emotions, and whatever has your attention, right? And marketing tells us that most of us have a 6-second attention span. If that, they're starting to change it now. So our attention is spread so thin that we're looking over there, we're looking over there, we're looking over there. And learning how to come inside and just be quiet and be here with my cancer dragon and everything, that took a lot of work and awareness. But it was so worth it. So the parts of us that are amnesic and dissociated are the dynamics of our personality. I'm going to say that again. The parts of us that are amnesic, that means those unconscious parts, they're asleep. These are the parts that represent active memories related to neural activities. So we're in our world, in our 3D world, and we're going along our day, and someone comes and pisses us off. It's not that person that pissed us off. It's whatever was unconscious. It just woke up, and now it's bleeding into the personality. So this is the not you that now bleeds into the personality. So he discovered a way to integrate that. And then healing the mind, body, and soul with these therapeutic interventions with quantum reality. And so what Dr. Gary Flint did, if you see that within these realms, you can see inside and inside and inside and inside. It's like, it's not just a drop. Within the drop is a drop, and within the drop is a drop, and within the drop is the drop. So as we begin to heal the mind and soul, we apply what Dr. Gary Flint, he applied quantum string theory to our personality and behavior. That fascinated me. I am a metaphysicist and closet researcher, and that just completely fascinated. How do you do it? How? I needed to know the how. So as he applied quantum theory about the structure of the hidden reality, so there's hidden reality within hidden reality within hidden reality. So this multidimensional hidden reality affects our lives, on so many levels, and our fields and how we interact with other fields. You like that picture? I love that picture. So he applied string theory and the metaphorical interpretation of the 11 dimensions of hidden reality. So we know that one dimension, here's one dimension, two-dimensional, now we have two dimensions, three-dimensional, now we have that four-dimensional. What is fourth? What is fifth? What is all the way up through the 11 theories, the 11 dimensions of hidden reality? We are moving through these dimensions all day long. All day long. So the subconscious is as an ally. We treat the subconscious as an ally in doing this work, and it is willing to learn. Dr. Gary Flint did find two ways that you could hurt the subconscious. And one of those ways is if you ask it to step into the unconscious or the conscious. If it does that, it can't see both. Now it is within. So this is something that he learned that could hurt the subconscious. And what he did was trained it to reprogram, release, and integrate the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding of what that is within the unconscious. So I think first we have to explain that three things are needed to make the subconscious an excellent ally, to work with us. We need to have clear communication, it has access to memories, and it has a way to process and integrate the reprogrammed memories. And so I learned dowsing in 2008. I'll never forget, my son and I both took a class. And I just loved dowsing. Dr. Gary Flint used muscle testing. He used yes and no questions with muscle testing. If he was working with a patient, he would have the patient relax with their hands on their lap, and he would say, raise the index finger for yes, raise the thumb for no. This only gave me two options. I don't like just two options. I like lots of options. So what I discovered in doing this work, because I started with myself, I discovered that I can have a yes, a no, a maybe because I learned some of these parts that wake up in the unconscious, they're very childlike. And then I get a polarized. That means there's two beliefs happening at the same time. The example I like to use is money doesn't grow on trees. That's a deep-rooted belief. You hear mom and dad say it, right? But then later you learn about affirmations, right? I'm full of abundance. Money comes my way. So I have these two beliefs within my nervous system. Any money that comes my way, it's going to be flung somewhere else because two vortexes going together, what does it do? Phew, phew, phew. It's like zip, zip, there goes my abundance. It's not coming to me. It's not coming to this nervous system because there's polarized parts within the unconscious and they wake up. So you say, money comes to me abundantly. This part goes, oh yeah, money doesn't grow on trees. So now I have two things going on, but what do I do about it? Integration. That's right. So we're all tapping into this intelligence, and we know what this intelligence is. You know, when we get our pendulum and we get ready to ask it its questions, you know it's not the thing that's giving you the answer. It's the intelligence. It's the chi, the prana, the life force. But is there a way to communicate with it? Dr. Gary Flint says yes, and I say yes too. I changed up his system a little bit, but he was just the one that really let that light bulb go off in my head and realizing, oh my gosh, this is how to make the unconscious conscious. So, for example, one of the first things that we do, I'm going to give you 4 super steps, super easy steps, and we're going to practice them, okay? The first thing we notice as we're going along in life, boom, our experience shows us something, and now we're angry. So I am angry. This is subjective, right? I am angry. You have no idea how angry I am, right? I am angry, very subjective. And when we say, I am angry, you're telling your nervous system to find more ways to make me angry. And we know this. We know this, but how do we stop it? How? How? That's my question all the time, is the how. I need the how. We make it subjective. From subjective, we make it objective. So here I am. I am angry. Angry. How angry am I? I'm an 8. This shift from I am angry to I'm feeling anger, and it's an 8 on the pain scale. This pain scale is a powerful tool. Hospitals use it all the time. They ask, what's your pain level? So they know how much medicine to give you. They don't know how much pain you're in. It's very subjective. Once we make the subjective objective, we create some space. We create a little bit of space between reacting and responding. There's not a lot of space between getting angry and reacting. How do you get from reacting to responding? You look at your anger and tell where it is on the pain scale. I'm a 7. That's pretty angry. That's pretty darn angry. But looking at someone that might be a 7 on the pain scale with anger, I couldn't tell. I mean, maybe a 2 or a 3, but if you tell me, it becomes objective. This is key. This is actually the second step of the 4 steps of integrating this work, the pain scale. So we go from old habits to new habits, and back to old habits and new habits, and then we want to change the new habits, and we want to get rid of those old habits. Yet you wake up tomorrow and what's happening? All the old habits. So integration is key. It's very important that when we're dowsing to find something or communicate with the nervous system, that we're tapping into this intelligence. This is a form of an agreed upon communication, and showing the yes, the no, the maybe. First, we would need to fulfill that the 3 are needed to make the subconscious an ally to work. And this is the communication. I'm a communicator. I'm a Gemini. I'm a linguist. I'm a professional linguist. I communicate on many, many levels when it comes to the nervous system. And when, for example, when we are communicating, many of us, we might be kind of listening to what's being communicated, but there's all kinds of stuff going on in the mind at the same time. That means the nervous system's not listening. We're listening for our response. So that's one thing I had to learn with communicating with the nervous system, is to be quiet and not let the mind get in the way. That was hard for me. My mind is going 1,000 miles an hour all the time, but to get quiet, to get myself quiet, and to listen to my nervous system for what it needs was a powerful shift within my healing journey. So first we got to set a framework. Let's set the framework. So we're going to get into some hands-on here, because I definitely want you guys to experience this and set up your healing team so that you can become more responsive instead of reactive. So the conscious, unconscious, and subconscious. What the heck is it? Well, we know what the conscious is. I'm consciously aware. But this unconscious and subconscious, what is that? I like to use allegory and analogy to get the mind to understand, because a lot of this really isn't for the mind, it's for the nervous system, right? So Our three parts are conscious awareness. That's kind of like the captain. He's steering the ship. And you know, if the captain starts to look behind him, where's he going? You ever have rubbernecks see an accident on the other side? Oh, you go off track from where you're putting your eyes on. You're going to move in the direction that you put your eyes on. So it's going to be very important for the captain to know his path. He has to navigate that path. He has to avoid rocks. This is awareness. This is awareness. This is conscious. The unconscious is everything that's going on below the deck. Captain has no clue, has no idea what's going on below the deck. They could be fighting, partying, all drunk. Place could be a mess. He doesn't know. He has no idea what's going on below. That's the unconscious. The subconscious I like to equate as the water that sees both. It can see what's going on with the captain, and it knows everything that's going on below deck. It's seen it all. It can tell you everything. Everything. So this is how I like to give the mind a framework. It's very important to give the mind a framework so it can wrap itself around it. Because some of this stuff we just can't wrap the mind around, right? It's a little too woo. And the beautiful thing is Dr. Gary Flint normalized it. It's beautiful. So as we integrate, okay, I'm these three parts. How do they work together? Because so many of us are disconnected from our ship. We're walking heads. We don't know what's going on in the nervous system within the entire body. We're clueless. I was totally clueless. If you would have met me 21 years ago, you might not have liked me. You might not have liked me. Different person. I don't even know that person anymore. So much has changed within the nervous system. The nervous system has completely changed. So these are the 4 steps. I'm going to get into detail with this because I really want you to practice this rather than just listen to all of the words. You become aware when triggered. That's number 1, awareness. I'm aware, I'm triggered. The beautiful thing about this, and actually Dr. Flint does therapy, I do not, and I see a big difference between therapy and the integration work. In therapy, you're telling the story, right? Of what happened, what triggered you. What happens to the nervous system when you're retelling the story? It's experiencing it all over again. You ever go to the therapist and then you're exhausted and tired for the next week? Yeah. I stopped telling my story, especially with the emotions, because when you're using words with emotions, you're creating motion. You set the motion in the path. Number 1, you become aware. I'm triggered. All right, how triggered are you on the pain scale? Make the subjective objective. Very important. Make it objective, because when you're subjective, you are it. There's nothing else you see. There's nothing else you see. You're here. But when it becomes objective, you become aware of so much more. You open your awareness when you make that tiny little shift. The third step is to set up and use your integration team. I like to call it the healing team. That means each part of you, conscious, unconscious, subconscious, each part has a job. Your conscious awareness is to become aware of when you're triggered. Something woke up below deck. Lights are starting to flip on. Below deck. Captain's unaware of it, but something's going on. You feel it. You've been triggered. How triggered am I? It's a 7. My body's reacting. It's tightening. You might not know the story behind it. You might not know all the details, but you can feel it. Sometimes these things come up are generational, and we have no idea why we're reacting the way we're reacting. It's generational. So once we set up and use the integration team, your healing team, then sometimes there might be within the nervous system, there may be blocks within the nervous system. The blocks is more like You ever have a pinched wire where sometimes the appliance is working and sometimes it's not? That's more like what's happening in the nervous system. You pinch it off and then it goes. You pinch it off. So as you do the work, the nervous system is going to respond. I'm going to show you something really, really quick that is going to help your nervous system release whatever that is blocking or pinching off communication between the neural pathways. So if you think of something and you can feel, I'm really blocked with this, something just doesn't feel right. We know about tapping. Some of us might know about tapping. But one of the things I learned with the nervous system is it likes ions, static electricity. So one of the things you can do is, I'm triggered. Might not be a high number, but it's enough to feel in your nervous system. You can take your palms together and begin rubbing your hands while you're focused on the trigger. Be focused on the trigger, focused on the trigger, focused on the trigger, and you're going to feel the heat build up. All of that static electricity is building in your nervous system. See, I feel it in my legs now. I feel it lifting up through my feet. Very good. Now, to break it, we're going to break it up. Whatever you're focused in on, we're going to break it up into a billion pieces, and we're going to clap our hands in 3, 2, 1. Release. You ever wonder why a dog shakes? It's resetting its nervous system. This is a way to reset your nervous system. Right there. Was that hard? Did anybody know that? You knew that. Yeah. It's an amazing tool if we can remember to use it. Because I'm telling you, over the past 21 years of doing this work, I can tell you I forgot about it so many times when I'm in it. And then I think, oh my gosh, okay, I'm reactive mode. I need to do some integration work. You absolutely can. Ask your body what it needs. Yeah, exactly. I mean, ADD kids, they have extra energy in their nervous system. Have them run in place. I like to do the football tires in place. Get that energy moving and released. Then you can sit down for a while. All right, so who would like to have their healing team set up? Yeah, excellent. So what I discovered is that I do this work in a state of prayer. And prayer not meaning, dear God, help me win the lottery. Thank you. Not that prayer. This is almost like a state of hypnosis. It's coming into you because only you have the answers. So, permission to set up our healing team. Yes. Excellent. So now let's set up your healing team. Healing team, thank you. Thank you. As all of these energy systems and energy beings are gathered together, full permission to set up the healing team. Consciously aware, knowing what's happening, not only in this dimension, but in many other states and dimensions. Intelligence that you are. Conscious awareness, unconsciousness. I have no idea what's happening down there, but it does come up in the least opportune times. It will show itself when I need to be calm. It will show itself when I'm triggered. So there's so much going on in the unconscious that I want to integrate. There is so much each part has to share knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. So there's a caveat about setting up your healing team. The subconscious will not do the work unless all of the parts that are being gathered to be integrated agree. So that's the second way we cannot harm, or we can harm the subconscious, is to ask us to integrate without permission. And we know about getting permission. We need to have permission. We can't just do something. It has to be permission. And we've learned how to ask and get what it is we need. So I would like, is there anyone here who would like to volunteer and has an issue that they've been maybe recently triggered, and it's on the pain scale of 5 or above? And again, I don't want to hear the story of it because I don't want to re-trigger your nervous system. I want the number. Going once, going twice. Awesome. Okay, so it doesn't matter if it's physical, emotional, spiritual. So I'm just going to get that so I can give you the mic. So I can. Okay, so darling, what number?
It subsided after we clapped to probably a 5,
Okay,
but it's been like a 10.
it's been a 10. So it has been a 10. Okay, so right away, the subjective became objective. So it's a 5 now, but it has been as much as a 10. So we all know what a 5 is. We all know what a 10 is. That's pretty intense when it's physical. It's physical pain. Excellent. So one of the things that I do, go ahead and stay right there. I'm going to grab a pen. The reason is with neuro-linguistic programming, I'm going to be asking her questions and I'm going to be listening to how the nervous system answers. So I use her words. So darling, this 5 right now, I'm going to be right behind you and grab some paper. This 5 right now, would it like to tell us something? Say something.
It's very sad.
Okay.
Very sad. It's a lot of pain, emotional pain.
Okay.
It's exhausting.
Anything else?
I think, I guess there's anger too. I'm angry that I'm in constant pain.
Okay.
So there's a lot of, yeah.
And it's a 5 right now.
Yeah.
Okay. So just from the clapping we did
It
to coming up here, it went down from a 10 to a 5.
it moved, yeah.
It moved. Okay,
Yep.
good. And what else would this 5 like to say? And if there's any other numbers that would also like to express themselves?
Numbers.
But you said it was a 10 if the 10 wanted to express.
It goes up and down. It changes.
Okay.
No, I think we've got the anger,
The anger.
the sadness, the frustration. I've been searching for answers for a very long time, since 2007, since the surgery. It was, yeah. Okay. Now I know.
You do?
I just got some, yeah.
She got her answer. Excellent. So I'm going to have you sit over here. Healing team. I'm going to speak with I because the subconscious only knows I. And all of the work that I do, I'm a little bit selfish whenever I work with somebody, especially like physical pain. I get excited because I get the work done too. How cool is that? I get the work done too. Very good. So first step, she became aware. Second step, she put it on the pain scale. Third step, we integrate it. How do we integrate it? We're going to do that right now. We're going to set up her healing team, and at the same time, we're going to set up your healing team. Okay? So our conscious awareness is number 1 on the healing team. The subconscious, it's at a 5. There's pain. There's physical pain. It's the second part of our healing team, the unconscious. How can the unconscious be part of the healing team? It's unconscious, right? But it's all the decks below in the ship. So we're accessing that right now. So healing team, I am sad. My body hurts. It feels like emotional pain. I'm exhausted. This whole process has been exhausting. I'm frustrated. I have been searching for answers since 2007, since the surgery. It keeps moving. It's a 10 sometimes. It'll go down to a 5, but it's always there. It's always there. It's blocking me from my peace, my joy, and my happiness. All of these parts waking up. All of these parts waking up in the unconscious. They're lighting up, lighting up. And the subconscious can see them all in perfect order and perfect sequence. But first, all of these parts waking up. Are you willing? Are you willing to have all of the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding integrated into your healing team while the subconscious reprograms, releases, lets go of what no longer serves, while keeping all of the precious knowledge, wisdom, and understanding? I'm getting a big fat yes. So now, are there any parts that are not willing to integrate all of their knowledge, wisdom, and understanding? So yes, I'm getting a yes. We have to have all of the parts willing, or the subconscious won't do the work. So these parts that are not willing, it's okay. We only want you to integrate all of your knowledge, wisdom, and understanding with the healing team willingly. 100% willingly. Are you willing to have a conversation with the healing team so that you can make a conscious choice to share all your knowledge, wisdom, and understanding? Nice. I got a yes. And I also saw it in your eyes. Very nice. So there's a yes saying, all right, I'm willing to have a conversation to see what this is. Because sometimes it could feel like it's scary. It might even feel like dying. That's okay. We want you willingly to integrate. Nice, big fat yes. And I'm not getting any polarization with this issue at all. Very good. So now we worked with the first part of your healing team, your conscious awareness. Second part of the healing team is the unconscious, and she knows there's stuff coming up, lighting up right now within the unconscious. The subconscious has to be trained now how to do the work through allegory. Subconscious. All of these parts are willing to be integrated while being reprogrammed and releasing what no longer serves, as if peeing in the ocean. It can never come back once it's released. Yes. All of these parts are willing. And we see before us a playing field, almost like a football field. Here, I'll take this from you for now. It's almost like a football field. It could be a soccer field, maybe a tennis court. Doesn't matter what the field is. You see the boundaries, you see the lines, you see the goals, you see exactly where you need to be. Here we are in life on the playing field. And as we're playing life on the playing field, moving along, I step into a hole. That hole is an unconscious part that woke up. So subconscious, please, 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 like a feather, fill in each and every hole in perfect order and in perfect sequence. And we can barely feel it at all. There's no pain. Go ahead.
My spine's trying to shift.
Go ahead and move if you need to move. Listen to your body. If your body's trying to shift.
Probably realigned.
Yeah. So as the subconscious is now gotten the instructions on how to do the work, did anybody catch how to do the work? The allegory that was used? The playing field. And the holes in the playing field are the unconscious parts waking up. So the subconscious, the intelligence that you are, goes through and fills in each and every hole like a feather, with a feather, and we can barely feel it. So I'm going to ask the subconscious to kind of back off a little bit because we're feeling it. Go ahead.
So I'm curious, what's the subconscious doing?
It's filling in the holes.
Okay, so, right, so that's why I'm,
Yes.
great.
So I'm going to ask the subconscious to slow down because we're feeling the pain. We want to feel it no more than a 2 or 3. Nice. No more than a 2 or 3. So processing is already happening. Allow. Yeah. Filling in one little hole at a time in perfect order, in perfect sequence. Allowing each and every part to share its knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, while the subconscious, the intelligence that you are, fills in each and every hole with love, in order, in sequence. Perfect. Processing is happening. As you can see, processing will continue to happen. When I work with people, I'll tell them processing will happen for 48 to 72 hours. So you're working with the neurological system. You want to make sure you're well hydrated. Be sure you're well hydrated. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, healing team. Thank you to my conscious awareness. I'm aware of my body, every part of my body, the parts I can see, the parts I can't see. Thank you. Thank you, unconscious. I only know what's going on in the unconscious because I feel it in my body. Thank you for letting me know. Thank you for communicating with me. Thank you. Thank you, subconscious. Thank you for doing the integration work on such deep, deep levels. The mind, the conscious awareness, and the subconscious cannot touch it, can't even reach it. And yet, the work is happening. Thank you. So, darling, I'd love for you to check in. You said it was a 5 and it kind of moved around. It can go up to a 10, but when you sat down, it was a 5. Can you check in and see where you're at now?
There is some pain still here, but I have pressure here, and this feels like past life stuff
Okay,
that's coming out.
okay,
Very specific, choking sensation.
okay. So I'm going to apply some neurokinesis because I want to break up whatever that is that's feel like it's choking her. So what I would love for you to do is take your left hand, palm forward, and put it over your heart center. Your right hand, tap in your palm. Good. Now shake it out. Excellent. Just take a moment to check in.
Better.
Okay, can you identify a number?
It's like a 2, but I'm still like feel like I'm coming back from this healing.
Okay, stay right there. When I work with people, my goal is to get it down to 0. So she went to a 2, which is awesome, but let's see if we can get down to a 0. Healing team, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you. It's still a 2. Would you like this 2 to say something?
For some reason, I feel like I need it. I don't need it. Is that because it's been so long? because I've had it so long.
So
So I
for
feel like
some
I
reason
have
you
to,
feel like I need it but don't need it? Is that what you?
right, I don't need it. Like I want to tell you, I don't need you anymore. I don't need this pain.
That's the plan. Once I have the healing team set up, you need nothing outside yourself. You need nothing outside yourself. You don't need any other practitioner. You are the practitioner. That's the beauty of setting up your team.
Yeah.
She's like, get away. I don't need you
I
anymore.
don't need this. No, I know.
So the two would like to say, I don't need you anymore.
Yeah.
Anything else?
I'm okay.
Okay, so now I want to anchor it. So I want all of you to be able to leave here and have this tool that you can use from here on out. So we're going to anchor the work. Healing team, thank you, thank you, thank you. Going from a 10 to a 5 to a 2, thank you. I don't need you anymore. I'm okay. I do not need you anymore. I am okay. Even though there's maybe still more coming up in the unconscious, I'm aware. I'm aware, and I know what to do. So from here on out, the moment I become aware, and please, please help me become aware. Help me see what I'm not seeing. Help me hear what I'm not hearing. Help me smell what I'm not smelling. Help me taste what I'm not tasting. Help me feel what I'm not feeling. Help me become aware, more and more aware of this magnificent body, of this magnificent nervous system. Thank you, healing team.
It's gone.
Ooh, chills up the spine. Chills.
Wow.
Is it a 0? Or is there still something there?
No, I just moved over here, but it's like programming in. No, no, it is gone. I'm yeah, look. I could turn my head.
Your nervous system did the work. I did nothing except guide it, give it instruction. And the subconscious needs the instruction because it will not do it, it will only observe. So Dr. Gary Flint said you have to instruct it. Yes? I have the 4 steps in my computer. I'll have that 4 steps. First, become aware. Second, give it a number. Make the subjective objective. Third, give it to your healing team. And then the 4th one is if there was anything in the nervous system, use some neurokinesis, any kind of EFT, shake it off. Yeah, do the dog shake. Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
Thank you.
Very cool. What is your name?
Kathy.
Thank you, Kathy. Excellent. I'm honored. How are we doing on time? I think I'm done, right? So you guys, you have this tool. The mind might be going, wait, what just happened? What am I supposed to do? Where are the instructions? What? That's the mind. That's just the mind. You're much more intelligent than that. Your intelligence knows what to do now, as long as you give it permission. Number 1, become aware. What's number 2? Give it a number. Make the subjective objective. What's number 3? Give it to the healing team. There's different ways that you can do this. Prayer is the best way. Come into prayer, go inside with gratitude. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you. Are there any questions? Did anybody else feel what Kathy was going through? Yeah. Did you feel like it moving through the body? Yeah. The nervous system is so, so powerful. Trust it.
You know what? I also felt others in this week also felt this feeling too.
She felt others also receive some healing as well. Yeah, it was a strong feeling. I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said. Sure. So the first question was, would it be good to get Dr. Gary Flint's book? Absolutely, because he says when you read the book, it's a little bit different than how I demonstrated it. But if you read the book, you're setting up your healing team. He calls it something different, and it's a little bit different process. And again, he uses the muscle testing for yes and no. And just reading the book, I highly recommend. It's a different kind of book, but as you're reading it and going through the experience, you're teaching the subconscious what to do. Let me get you a microphone because I think they want that to be recorded.
Let's say we have a client who has had an accident and it was like 10 years ago and they're still hanging on to the symptoms and they come and go all the time. Is it possible for this technique to just erase the memory of that so that it just goes away?
Okay, so we're
'Cause
not,
the person can't let go of things.
right. So we're not erasing any memory. We're erasing the reaction. So we're still going to have the memory, but the nervous system is no longer responding.
That's fine.
That
That is
is what they
fine.
need. Yes.
Perfect.
However, caveat, if you go through the work and they get down to the zero and then they allow their mind to start thinking about it again, guess what? Pain is going to come back. That means more
So it would
parts
be
woke up.
doubly complicated if this person was ADHD.
I
Because,
don't think so.
no?
No.
Because that characteristic seems to be that they don't let go of things and they'll perseverate.
That's a possibility. However, you notice how we did rounds? So you get layer and layer and layer, and then they'll get to a point where processing might take a little longer, and then some more layers might come. But like with the pain going from 10 to 0, as long as she's, you're aware that processing is still happening on deep, deep levels, the mind will go, okay, processing is still happening.
How do we guard against reactivating that pain?
Awareness training,
Awareness training.
yes.
You
Like we
want to,
did
you
at
want
the
to tell us
beginning.
about that? Oh,
Yes. So I don't think I need that. But so the question is, does that mean quantifying pain or objectifying it? So if I understand your question it keeps coming back, right? So it depends on what's happening with awareness. Once you're aware that the body is communicating, then instead of believing thoughts that come, we ignore those thoughts because you're not your mind, right? We start to focus in on the nervous system and how the body is responding. So it is awareness training. Awareness training. Are you aware of your feet right now? Yeah. Are you aware of what's happening in the corridor right now? No. Can you become aware while sitting here, aware what's going on in the corridor? Not with your mind. With your nervous system, you can. That takes training. So it's going to be awareness training. So are you worried about a case or for yourself? Okay, a case. And I would suggest trying it and then anchoring it like we did with her. We anchored the work so that the processing continues within the nervous system and see what happens. Do you do hypnosis? Yeah, do an anchor. Anchor it so from this point forward, the moment I become aware, next step, next step, next step. Yes, you're reprogramming. Yeah. Any other questions? These are great questions. Emotional, physical, spiritual, Mental. Mental's a good one. And that sounds like mental pain. It sounds like it's more mental than physical.
It's a program that's just being run.
Yes. You,
There's an opportunity to remember the program.
sorry.
So anytime there's an opportunity to recall that program and recall that pain,
Then it's
Johnny
right
on the
back in the
spot.
nervous system.
Yep.
Yes. So awareness training, as soon as they recognize they're rerunning the program, awareness, that stops it. Remember, the subjective becomes objective? That stops the process in its tracks.
So you really have to be able to rein yourself in when you see that happening again.
Yes.
And that's
why-
the
exactly.
awareness you're talking about.
Exactly. So when I was first starting out, I would, rah, and then later do, yeah. I shoulda, I coulda, I woulda. I should on myself. Thank you. Yes. Absolutely. It's easy to do for yourself. Absolutely. And you know what? You guys are all set up. You're set up. So she was doing the work. You guys were too. Did anybody feel shifts in their body? Yeah. Very good. Any other questions? Oh, yes.
Not so much a question. First of all, thank you very much for sharing your brilliance. I appreciate what you're sharing. The nervous system's main purpose, if I'm hearing what you're saying, is to keep us aware.
Yes. Not your mind.
That's right. Out of the mind.
The
into
mind
body.
makes you unaware. And when you're lost in your thoughts,
That's
you're
right.
not aware.
So pausing the mind, using the breath, connecting, and allowing the nerve system.
Pain will put your focus on it.
That's right.
I'm aware of pain. That's going to shut off the mind in an instant.
Exactly. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you. Any other questions?
So when Linda was in an integrative state, she's connecting the three levels. Earlier in your talk, you talked about a delta state of mind. Is there a connection with that? You're
Yes.
filling in the potholes in an allegoric state. Is that the delta state you were referring to, or is that something different?
Good question. I don't need the mic. That is in hypnotic state. So I use fractionated hypnosis. In and out, in and out, in and out.
So probably talking a little bit about my process that I go through. If you walk someone down to a delta state and they're consciously sitting in the chair, you've got them to a very receptive state, and then you do this program?
Yes.
Got it.
Thank you.